6,522 miles across 19 US states. That's what my Aston Martin and I have been doing over the last 2 weeks. How about you? This is a road trip wrap-up, a summary of my 16-day cross-country adventure from Philadelphia to California and back home. Now, if you want to see all the numbers from the trip, fuel economy, miles, cost, check autotrader.com/oversteer for my post on all my trip statistics. Right now, I'm going to tell you exactly what it's like to drive an Aston Martin 6,500 miles across the country and back in 2 weeks. Actually, I'm going to show you what it was like to drive 6,500 miles across the country and back in 2 weeks because I saw a lot of amazing stuff out my windshield and, well, check it out. But it wasn't all scenery. A couple of other interesting things happened on my trip, none of which involved a breakdown. This car was flawless, although I did have to stop at Maury's Luxury Auto in Minneapolis in order to replace my brake pads. This turned out to be a blessing in disguise because I got to check out the unbelievable cars available for rent at Maury's Heritage Car Connection, where I hope to return very soon. Also, a rock chip in my window was quickly fixed by the incredibly nice people at Glass Mechanics in Salt Lake City, Utah. And then there were the meetups. I had an awesome time chatting with people in Boise and in Billings and checking out their cars. In Fargo, more than 20 people showed up at 2:30 p.m. on a Wednesday, and some of them gave me awesome North Dakota souvenirs like this Doug Carr license plate and a mug and a popsicle. And I spent hours chatting with people and checking out cars in Cleveland and in Chicago, where the meetups attracted more than 150 people each. And then there was Minneapolis. Despite the threat of rain and 2 separate location changes, more than 150 of you showed up and gave me an incredibly warm welcome. There was a McLaren 675 LT, a Dodge Viper, several Aston Martins, a DeLorean, and an incredibly enthusiastic, friendly, welcoming crowd. And then the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile showed up. That was an unforgettable night. Oh, and another thing that happened on my trip. I also took a lot of photos of my car next to things. Here's my car next to Ohio, next to a Carrera GT, next to Indiana, next to the Mississippi River, next to train tracks, next to corn, next to the Nebraska football stadium, next to a train, next to bugs, next to Nebraska, next to a movie theater, next to salt, next to nothing, next to California, next to an old gas station, next to a time zone, next to Idaho, next to farm equipment, next to a mountain, next to the sunset, next to the Continental Divide, next to a lake, next to a cop who pulled me over, next to North Dakota, next to a bison, and next to the tallest structure in the Western Hemisphere, which is a TV tower in North Dakota. All told, I've driven my Aston Martin more than 18,000 miles in the last 9 months, and that means it's about time to sell it. Aside from a few hiccups at the start, it's been absolutely flawless, and this road trip was an unforgettable adventure. And so, to those of you who were afraid of Aston Martin reliability, and so you chose a Corvette or a Porsche or a Mercedes, I have to ask you, do you have a picture of your car next to a bison?